Want, my friend.
Thank you, George. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
You take care of yourself. Stephen Root, you know the things he has done. Just an absolutely delightful person. I'll be back in just a moment. Our special edition report continues now. The swine flu scare. A number of guests are joining us throughout the night. I'll be back. Tonight you're going to hear various views about the swine flu situation. Ominous developments reported in the swine flu epidemic, as they call it now, a jump to 149 deaths and more signs that the virus can jump repeatedly from human to human. It has prompted the World Health Organization to raise its pandemic alert level, and governments around the world were taking tougher measures. As a matter of fact, I have just been told that Federal Express is on standby with its critical fleet, as they are the first line of deliverers to various regions of the country with water supplies and medicine, and they've been told, get ready just in case. It's a never-before-seen strain of the swine flu. It has turned into a killer in Mexico and is causing milder illness in the United States and elsewhere. In a moment, we begin our first of series of interviews with special guests with Gary Ridenour, right here on Coast to Coast AM. Stephen Quayle, Alex Jones, next hour. This hour, we have Gary Ridenour with us. He attended Hiram College, was at Woodstock and the Kent State shootings years ago. He interviewed all numerous medical schools that refused his application because they didn't like people that rock the boat. Gary attended medical school in Guadalajara, Mexico, and was one of the main characters in the movie Bad Medicine, written by a classmate. He ran his own clinic for the poor out of a Catholic church clinic and sometimes sat and read up on the problem with the patient in the room. Here he is on Coast to Coast. His interest is educating everyone about the threat of the avian flu. Gary, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, good. Let's talk first of all about this strain, which apparently is more than just one. It includes the swine flu, bird flu, human flu. How did it get mixed up like this? I mean,
well, pigs are the virus cookers. They're similar to human beings. So when a virus gets into a pig and it's transmitted to other pigs, there's a thing called genetic drift, which is the genetic material can change. The pig can pick up viruses and then mix them together, or the virus will mix itself together, and then you come out with something that will infect humans.
The CDC is saying pork is okay to eat. This does not affect that. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, cooked pork is just fine. Our biggest problem right now is that what I call jaws and paws. You got to cover your face. We're going to have to start covering our faces and washing our hands.
Gary, they're calling this an epidemic. What's that definition? Because there aren't really a lot of cases yet.
Well, an epidemic is new cases of a certain disease occurring over a given population during a given period, which is very technical. The real definition for what we call a pandemic is the questions are, is it new? Yes. Will it kill? Yes. Can it be transmitted? Yes. And currently, it's on 5 continents.
Is there need for panic? And the reason why, according to the CDC, more than 200,000 Americans are hospitalized each year for the flu. 36,000 people die annually from flu-related problems. We haven't even gotten close to that yet. Of course, this is relatively new, but still we haven't gotten close to this. I mean, so why the international concern?
Well, the international concern is that this virus may get definitely will get in contact with the avian flu, which I've been following for 5 years. The two may recombine and come out with something even more fatal. In fact, oddly enough, some places are calling this the influenza-like illness. They're even trying to get away from saying swine flu at this point.
Is this the strain that they were so concerned about years ago when they were talking about the bird flu, which they claimed could be a pandemic? It did not.
Well, they're all influenza A family, and as was the virus of 1918 that killed 40 to 100 million people. It's called H1N1, which is basically the definition of the chemical structure of the virus. Oddly enough, the virus of 1918 was also an H1N1, so that gives us quite a bit of concern. The underlying the concern is that the United States has declared a public health emergency. That gives the government the right to condemn and burn buildings, arrest people causing trouble, use private property, ration health care supplies, quarantine, isolate, curfew, and martial law. In other words, they have just released the public health emergency, which basically means suspension of constitutional rights.
Okay, we're going to talk about that with you, Gary, because that is frightening all by itself.
Oh, yeah.
36,000 people die every year from flu-related problems. Okay, I'll call it the normal flu. 36,000 people. If this flu here, the swine flu, attains only 5,000, to me it doesn't seem nearly as serious as the normal flu.
That's true. The concern for this one is that the speed that it's moving. When I was on the radio 72 hours ago, we were talking about just a few areas. Now we have 5 continents. Our problem is we have no vaccine for this. The flu vaccine for the wintertime that people get is not any good. Tamiflu and Relenza may work, but geez, who has 1 billion doses just for the United States?
Am I wrong to be untrusting of some of these companies that make vaccines? To me, the timing is strange. Baxter, just a few weeks ago, had a strain that they sent out to several countries. It got mixed, different kinds of virus. I don't know, Gary. I just don't trust them anymore.
Well, the Baxter Pharmaceutical prototype vaccine that was sent out was contaminated with the avian flu. Czechoslovakia claimed that Baxter was trying to cause a mini pandemic to get everyone to, use a vaccine from them. They have already come up front and said we can produce a vaccine in somewhere between 4 to 6 months.
Baxter has said that.
Baxter has said that, yes.
What are the possibilities that whatever this strain truly is was concocted in a laboratory and released on the public?
That's a possibility, and the main reason for that is that the Criminal Investigation Division of the United States Army is at Fort Derrick, Maryland right now, trying to find out what virus cultures are missing from that laboratory. In fact, they have, to the best of my knowledge, have the 1918 flu virus, and they think that somebody has already tampered with that laboratory.
That's interesting. We did have a report on that those vials were missing, but nobody really knew exactly what was happening and what was going on with that. So there is that possibility. I mean, because even for you to admit that, this is pretty scary.
It is. I've had great concerns that Indonesia was no longer going to let anyone look at their avian flu virus. And there was concerns that Al-Qaeda or somebody may be using Indonesia to produce a bioweapon out of the avian flu.
In your opinion, might this be some kind of weapon that is either being tested on people or was accidentally released?
Yes, there's a good possibility.
How high in terms of a percent?
I'll give you maybe 40% versus Mother Nature, which is 60. Mother Nature usually finds a way.
All right. So that's pretty high. Of the 40% then that you think could be done intentionally or accidental, but nonetheless man-made and created, what percent do you think was done intentional to try to wipe out the population of this planet?
I mean, here's the thing: is if you're going to intentionally create a virus to wipe out the population, you have to be darn sure that your people have a vaccine.
And they may. Maybe they're just not telling us.
That's a possibility. We don't know. It'll get into China. China admitted a while back that they had 5 deaths from the avian flu. Quite frankly, China doesn't have 5 of anything.
I am surprised at the so-called Organization of Governments in releasing this information over the last several days. It has been dramatic, Gary. It's almost as